Welcome to Chapter 8 entitled Historical Research. Our first topic, namely nature and value of historical research. As used by the Greeks, history meant an inquiry designed to reconstruct past events, and, in a sense, historical research can still be defined as a scholarly attempt to discover what has happened. In other words, the historian attempts to give meaning to the facts in light of a relevant theory, simply describing of events in the order of their occurrence, a process similar to the older concept of historical research. True historical research, or historiography or intellectual history, is concerned with analyzing and interpreting the meaning of historical events. Importance of historical research to librarianship. Historical research can make specific contributions to the advancement of library and information science. As Busha and Harter indicate about historical research, it can contribute to the body of knowledge about librarianship. It can increase our understanding of how, when, and why past events occurred. Appreciation of the significance of these events. Types of historical research. Hillway identifies 6 different types of historical research or documentary study. 1. Biographical research. 2. Histories of institutions and organizations. 3. The investigation of sources and influences. 4. Editing and translating historical documents. 5. Studying the history of ideas. And 6. Compiling bibliography. Sources of historical information. The data gathered in historical research can come from a wide variety of sources. Among the more commonly used are the following. Virtually all written sources of historical information can be categorized as either primary or secondary documents. Primary sources represent the data which lie closest to the historical event. Secondary or secondhand sources may be considered virtually everything not viewed as primary. Evaluation of historical sources. Selecting specific sources of data for a historical study, it is critical that they be evaluated properly, know if sources are relevant to the study, worthwhile, and competent. External criticism, used interchangeably with textual criticism, and usually takes into account the provenance or origin of a document. Internal criticism. The researcher should confirm the validity and reliability of its contents. Basic steps of historical research. Historical research tends to involve the following steps. The hypothesis in historical research. Hypothesis in historical research helps to increase the objectivity of the study and minimize researcher bias. It guides the researcher in the collection, analysis, and interpretation of data by indicating what is relevant to the study. Collecting the data basically involves putting together in a logical fashion the evidence derived from documents or records. Often involves the comparing and reconciling of information gathered from 2 or more sources. The presentation of findings. In writing the historical report, the researcher should take care to be objective and to preserve intellectual honesty. The report is normally directed to the knowledgeable scholar, and the facts and interpretations should be presented that reader can evaluate conclusions in light of documented evidence. Twofold ask in historical writing: 1. To convey a sense of time or to show chronological development. 2. To analyze and explain the interrelationships of the events studied. Library history. Busha and Harter note that library history is commonly applied to an account of events that have affected any library or group of libraries, as well as to the social and economic impacts of libraries. Bibliographical research takes the form of descriptive bibliography, certainly comes closer to being true research than does systematic or enumerative bibliography. Systematic bibliography. Systematic or enumerative bibliographies are concerned with the book and other materials as an intellectual entity. The results are one of the following compilations or lists. 1. Universal bibliography. 2. National bibliography. 3. Trade bibliography. 4. Subject bibliography. Descriptive bibliography is concerned with the book as a physical entity or material object. Specific bibliographical research including the following: 1. Analytical bibliography. 2. Textual bibliography. 3. Historical bibliography. Problems in historical research. A variety of problems are particularly important in historical research, including the following: 1. Deciding how much data are enough. 2. Improperly selecting data. 3. Relying too heavily on secondary sources of information. 4. Investigating an overly broad problem. 5. Failing to evaluate adequately the historical data and their sources. 6. Failing to interpret the data. 7. Reading the present into the past event.